Welcome to the Unpacking It Live podcast. I'm Bryce Johnson. So excited to be with you today. We'll be here for the next hour to unpack sports, faith, and life with the Unpacking It community of sports fans. We are back after last week being off. We had a tremendous 6th annual Unpacking It golf tournament presented by Strategic Planning Corporation with over 100 golfers. A beautiful day here in Charlotte, North Carolina last Monday. Actually, it's beautiful today as well. But we had a tremendous time out on the course. We debuted a contest called Fling Golf. So let's say hello to Luke. And Luke, I was curious, have you seen Fling Golf? This is something that I saw on Shark Tank a few months ago, and so we brought it to the golf tournament, and it was awesome. Have you seen this?
I don't think I have. I've seen the cannon golf where it's like it's almost like a gun, and it fires golf balls like crazy distance. But I've never heard of or seen Fling Golf.
So we've done the gun before at our tournaments previously, but this was a new product that basically you like bring it over your head and you fling it almost like a lacrosse stick.
Interesting.
It's similar to that, but it's a golf ball, and so you try to get on the green and all that. So anyway, that was a fun addition to this year's tournament. But man, we've been doing it so many years, so we've got a lot of things built in, a lot of fun elements of the day. But thanks to everybody that was there, all of our great sponsors and supporters, and we're still looking for some fairway friends to finish up the month. So looking for some more donations. October is our big fundraising month for Unpacking It, and so if you enjoy this podcast and enjoy what we do here at Unpacking It, and you're encouraged and inspired by it, we invite you to participate and support this ministry financially. And so you could be a fairway friend and go to unpackingit.com/donate to participate with that right now. So Luke's here. Henry's here. We'll do tap drill at the end of the show. We got some really good topics to discuss with Henry. The 75th NBA anniversary team is out. I got some strong thoughts on that. Excited about that. I've been soaking that in, some of the discussions surrounding that. But it's an NFL Monday as well. And as you can tell, I've got my Carolina Panthers hat still lit. It should be dimmed. I need like a dimmer on it because the optimism for Panthers fans is quickly vanishing. It is nuts here in Charlotte, listening to local radio, driving in today, keeping up with some of the updates. A lot to get to with that. We also, there were a number of interesting storylines today from yesterday with a few blowouts. And so today during Unpack This, I want to talk about the feelings that come from a blowout and a large defeat and how that relates to our own lives. So we'll do that shortly. But Luke, first up, how was the weekend?
Weekend was good. Another wedding. Can you believe it?
I saw it on Facebook. So that was this weekend.
That was this weekend. Yeah, my stepbrother got married in San Antonio. It was great. Got to go. I'll just jump right to it. The fact of the matter is, the wife and I lit up the dance floor. I pulled out the tie tied around the forehead midway through the night. Lost a few buttons going down. And, we were in our own world. And after the wedding, we ended up talking to some people, and they're like, yeah, we just loved watching you guys. I'm thinking, my job here is done. My job here is done. So the dance floor was dominated. And the best part, I ran into a guy from my fraternity, which was exciting. So what fraternity, do you may ask? Well, of course, the Redheads of the World fraternity. That's the fraternity I'm talking about, baby.
Uh-oh.
So anytime I see a fellow redhead, I take a picture with them.
No matter
even
who
if they're a
is,
stranger.
You don't have to have any connection with them.
That's right. So we're such a rare breed, us fellow redheads. I think we're like less than 1% of the world.
Is that right? Wow.
So it's a very recessive gene. So anytime I see a redhead, I go up and say, hey, can I take a picture? And usually they're a little creeped out because we've never ever talked or seen each other before. And I go, I love to take pictures with fellow redheads. And usually they're like, okay. This guy, the DJ, redhead.
The DJ.
He was so excited. He said, "Me? Really?" And I said, "Yeah, red hair, baby. We got to take a picture." Oh, he was all about it. So got a picture with the DJ, fellow redhead. He did a great job. So it was a win.
I love it. So I don't think we've ever broken down wedding DJs, but this is quite the breed. You talk about redheads. DJs are quite the breed. And
they are.
So I was a radio DJ, so I did the music and stuff in college, but never like a wedding DJ. So it's slightly different, but I do wonder sometimes these guys try to steal the spotlight a little bit too much. They get a little too mic friendly at times, and I get concerned about that at certain weddings.
Interesting.
You got to get out of the way. Nobody's there to see you. They're there to hear some music, but you got to know your role and stay in your lane. Wedding DJ. Play the tunes, and that's it.
So that fair? So my boy Artie the redhead, he stayed out of the way. It was great. The only tip I'd have for him. It was interesting. We're playing. It was a lot of slower songs. It was an older crowd. The couple was in their early 30s, so it wasn't your classic. We all just graduated college. It's going to be a bunch of really hype dance music. A lot of slower songs. But like one of the first 5 songs played, an Usher song. And we're thinking, wow, we're bringing out the crowd already? We're about to get some really high energy dancing? But it was just that. The first hour was like one Usher song out of nowhere and then slow dance music. So I don't know if it was an accident or a tease for what's to come, but overall a great night. But I love it. I would love to ask, how was your how was your wedding? How was your weekend? You and I both have been wedding machines lately, so hopefully you didn't have another wedding this weekend.
No, this was after last weekend preparing for the golf tournament, so I go a lot of preparation for that. So this was an at-home catch-up weekend, so lots of family time. However, I needed to get some errands done, and so I've got 2 little daughters now. I've got a 2-year-old Maddie, who I enjoy spending time with on Dadder Day, right? So we try to
Dadder Day.
Weekend.
Come on,
and so I needed a car wash. It had been a while since I had gotten my car washed. And so, you know what? I thought, hey, let's bring Maddie to the car wash. This has to be a good idea, right?
So not a hand washer.
Bring a 2-year-old to the not at home doing my own car.
Yeah.
No, there's certain things in life. I'm not going to bag my own groceries, and I'm not going to wash my own car. I'll let somebody else do that, right? I'm already paying for the groceries. Somebody else can put the food in the bags. I'm not. Why would I self-checkout? Why would I do extra work if I don't have to?
That's right. I fill up my car with gas. Don't ask me to do much more.
That's it. So, and then if I can pay like $11 for a car wash, I'm gonna do it. But so I go over there. We survive the car wash, which, let's admit, it's a little scary if you're unfamiliar with being inside.
Oh yeah, first time.
Where all of a sudden, these big things are going in the window. So Maddie survived. She did well. She started getting a little fussy toward the end. The air blowers did it for her. She started getting a little like, what's going on? So anyway, I get there. I'm drying off the car. She remains in her car seat. So she's hanging out. She's good. But the time is prolonging, right?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she's starting to get fussy. I want out. And so, all right, let's see if I can put her in the front seat. And so, you got to think, this is a big car wash. Bunch of people are all around. And I'm taking the risk of bringing a 2-year-old out of the car seat. Not only the dangers of that, but I was keeping an eye on her.
Yeah.
But also the danger of a meltdown. And by the end of the time, it was a full-on meltdown. She didn't want to get back into the car seat. And so now I'm stuck at the car wash. So now I've got a crying baby who won't go back, not a baby, 2-year-old, who won't go back into the car seat with everybody else just trying, they make a clear rule, no loud music, but there was no rule on no loud crying babies.
That's right.
You start to feel the people around you going, dude, you brought a 2-year-old to a car wash? Are you out of your mind? And I'm thinking,
we're starting them young.
Yeah, I'm out of my mind, but I'm desperate to get my car clean. And so here's my big takeaway from it. The question of the day: where is I don't even want to use the word dumbest place you've brought your 2-year-old or some age that makes sense, but where were you delusional enough to bring your child somewhere? You thought, that'll be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. Because I'm here to tell you the car wash, not a big win. Not a great spot for a 2-year-old. Not a lot of slides or monkey bars to play on. It's vacuums.
But I will say, now Maddie, to all of her fellow 2-year-old friends, can say, yeah, but have you gone through a car wash? She's got the flex on him now. She can do, in her eyes, she may be able to do anything because all her little other 2-year-old friends might be scared, but she has survived a car wash. Now, I need to bring this up. This is one of my many gripes with humanity. And it is you're in a place, your young child is crying, and it's the guy who goes, hey, shut that baby up. Or, hey, can you tell your kid to be quiet?
No,
hey, get him to stop crying. Oh my gosh, on an airplane? Yeah, well, on an airplane. Last year on a plane, poor mother. No, I'm not talking about the poor mother, not that I knew her socioeconomic status. The poor mother on the plane with a young toddler weeping in the middle of the flight. Understandable. Hey, babies cry. Guy 10 rows in front of her. Can you get your baby to stop crying? First of all, timeout. Let's just completely illogical. Yeah, because I'm encouraging the antics of crying. Yeah, thank you for your advice. I'm going to tell my baby to stop crying now.
Yeah.
How about you come up here? I just don't understand it. It's the most illogical waste of breath to just tell someone, hey, get your baby to stop crying. Thank you for that wise, just enlightening command and encouragement from you, stranger. I really appreciate that. I'm thinking, what are we doing here? I don't understand.
That's a fair take. However, I am on the side, don't bring a baby on the plane unless you absolutely have to. Like you have to be somewhere. But if it's a voluntary place that you're going, bringing a baby, I'm out on that. I'm not personally doing it, and I don't have much patience when I'm on the plane with the crying baby. But I agree with your take that it's silly to actually say something. Like what do you expect?
Yeah. So I agree with you. There's moments where, hey, your child's crying, maybe take him outside. I understand that. You could take your kid outside. Hey, you're in church. You're in church. Your child's been crying. Maybe step out for a second. But if you're on a plane and you're just going to holler at the parent, what's going to happen here? So I don't understand. But how about Jason with the comment here? The baby opening day for Star Wars at the IMAX theater. Because then you're trapped. You're trapped. Do you miss the movie or do you just embrace it? The baby's going to cry and I'm staying in here.
Oh,
that's tough. That's catch-22 there.
You have to leave. Even if you've bought your ticket, you're out. That's on you, Jason. That's on you. You got to get out. You can't keep a baby in a movie. There's no babies in a movie. So we've now learned no 2-year-olds at the car wash, but I think we've already known no babies in the movie. Yeah. So Jason, that was a bold effort on that one. So, but keep your realizations coming. Where have you taken your child where you were delusional and thought, yeah, it'll work. It'll be fine. We'll make it through. They'll have a good time. They'll have a great time. So, all right. Then we got that going on today. And we got lots of NFL topics, not to mention the World Series starts tomorrow.
That's right. And
so a quick take on the World Series. So I live in Charlotte, and we don't have a professional baseball team. Nice Division III. A AAA baseball team, Charlotte Knights, they're great. But growing up, everybody's an Atlanta Braves fan. However, they haven't been relevant in a long time. I mean, in recent years, they've started to obviously build toward this World Series team. But for a long time, since I was 10, and I was a Braves fan, they were on TBS, and we watched them all the time, and loved those Chipper Jones, Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine. I mean, these guys it was unbelievable. Andrew Jones. So we love the Braves, but it's just so funny. Now everybody's come out of the woodwork. Everybody's a Braves fan. We're all back. We're all back on the bandwagon. I haven't heard anybody talk baseball in Charlotte for the last 20 years, and now everybody, all my buddies, my high school friends, they can't wait to watch their Atlanta Braves. Starting to use we. We are back.
Ooh, the personal pronouns are tough.
Oh man, I'm not sure they've been suffering through the 50 win seasons or whatever, and watching baseball in June over the last 20 years. I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's. I haven't heard them talk about it, but now they're in for the World Series. So anyway, go Braves. We'll go Braves. But the whole topic around the Astros is also an interesting topic with them being there. But we may have to save that for next week because I got a lot of NFL to get to. But any quick thoughts on the World Series? Are you intrigued by it? Will you go out of your way to watch it?
Yeah, so I certainly don't keep up with regular season baseball like I do for basketball. One, there's so many games, 162 games, unbelievable. So many games, but I think postseason baseball, I really enjoy watching. Just because, again, with any postseason, like it changes. You don't send out a starting pitcher for 7 innings. You might go 6 pitchers in one game, 1.5 innings at a time, or 1 1/3. So I think that's exciting. Just the strategy, the excitement. Less teams. So I will definitely watch the World Series. And again, we may have to get into it at a later episode, but certainly some unique implications or opinions on who is involved with the World Series previous years. It's interesting.
No, it is. This is a very cool matchup. I like the storylines. I'll be bought in for sure. I like the Tuesday start too. That's nice. So we get Monday Night Football tonight. The Manning brothers are back. So I'm clear the schedule. I'm back in front of the couch. Let's go. Manning brothers, thank you. I mean, they're saving a Monday night game tonight. Think about it. Seattle and New Orleans. That's a tough matchup. I'm sorry. That just is a weird matchup to me. I mean, I guess it was a playoff matchup a few years ago, but without Russell Wilson,
no Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's just, no Drew. This isn't Drew Brees Russell Wilson matchup. This is Geno and Jameis. So there are some fantasy ramifications, but I've already won most of my leagues this week, so I'm feeling pretty good. But all right, before we jump into unpack this, let me ask you this. Do you need to get your own health insurance? Well, go to healthmarketgenius.com. Know your options. That's healthmarketgenius.com. Support them as they support us. We'll do I'm convinced in a little bit, but you can send yours in. What are you convinced of today following the sports weekend? And I'm convinced quarterback related. My thoughts on Sam Darnold coming up. But for Unpack This, we take a sports story related to the Bible, related to our own lives, and I hope today is encouraging because the one that I wrote for today, this will go out an email later today, and I'm sharing with you now. I wrote this to myself, and I'm going to share it with you. All right? So here we go. So the NFL, through the first 6 weeks of the season, really represented what we love about the NFL. Parity, right? Any given Sunday, anybody can win. We saw a lot of close matchups throughout the first 6 weeks. 11 games went to overtime, which was the second most in NFL history through 6 games. And so we got off to a great start with a lot of competitive football in the NFL. I've now lost my microphone, but we're good. We'll keep going.
This seems to be a trend now.
I know. It's like I hold on to it too long and then it eventually just pulls away from me.
I'm going to have to create a montage of all the times the microphone disassembles aggressively from the arm.
Yep. We have an enemy. The enemy does not want me to share this encouraging word today. All right. So we've had a lot of great games. However, yesterday, it was not about close games. Yesterday was about blowouts. Now, sure, we had a couple close games, and last night was interesting with the rain and the Colts and the 49ers, and the Rams-Lions game actually ended up being a little closer than maybe many people thought, but we saw blowouts. The Titans shockingly dominated the Chiefs 27-3. The Bengals overwhelmed the Ravens 41-17. The Giants embarrassed my Panthers 25-3. The Jets were outmatched by the Patriots 54-13.
50 points. Unreal.
The Bucs beat up on the Bears by winning 38-3, and the Cardinals handled the Texans. Another discouraging defeat for them, 31-5. At one point yesterday, I looked at my secondary TV that had the scores on. The scoreboard popped up, and I had to do a double take. It was almost like I had to check my eyes. It was like, wait, the Patriots have 54 points? Oh. It was that almost felt like a miss. Something was off. A misprint.
It's like when they typed in post game Timothy Mozgov. They said he had 93 points. So it was like one of those things. Somehow the producers messed up here.
it didn't seem right because the Patriots really haven't scored much this year. They've won some games. They haven't scored a lot. And so that was very surprising. But they got the big win. And so a couple of just quick NFL thoughts before we get to the spiritual thought. The Titans, with the way that Derrick Henry's playing, he's throwing touchdowns. They're really rolling. So they're playing well. So it wasn't, we got to take them seriously. And I've got major concerns about the Chiefs. And you know what my gut feeling is? Something's wrong with Patrick Mahomes. That like a lot of people are talking about, we got to fix scheme or offensive line, or he doesn't have the weapon. No. Something's off with him. And I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But I'm just like, we have to realize that when we watch sports, these guys are humans. And oftentimes they got something going on in life. Like, we don't know. Maybe nothing's going on, and maybe it really is scheme and they just need a better left tackle. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like just something, kind of the off the field mental game, the intangible factor. Something doesn't seem, it's just not clicking with the Chiefs. And maybe it's in the locker room. I don't know. But that to me, because otherwise I look at the roster and I still see Travis Kelce out there. I still see plenty of other weapons. Williams was awesome last week. Why all of a sudden running the ball? Why wasn't he good this week? So that's my quick thought on that. And then the Bengals beating the Ravens. The Bengals are for real. They really are.
Yeah.
And we laughed about Jamar Chase not being able to catch a football in preseason.
He's been phenomenal.
We were wrong. We were wrong about
Seriously.
Chase. Everybody agreed you don't take a receiver over an offensive lineman, right? Remember, we got to protect Burrow. Don't take Jamar Chase. That take is now a freezing cold take. That's a bad take. Bad take. All right. So anyway, a ton of blowouts yesterday. And so what ends up happening? Those teams, they got dominated. So they're feeling overwhelmed, outmatched, limited, defeated, embarrassed, discouraged. The scoreboard didn't look pretty for them yesterday. And so now all these teams are wondering, how do we overcome that? How do we move on from such a tough loss? How do we keep going when we got beat up the way that we did? And at this point, our season looks so bleak. So what do? Now, the Ravens, they can chalk it up as an off day, and they're still fine. They're in good position. They've already had some key wins on their schedule. The Chiefs, still extremely talented. They're Super Bowl champs. But the Panthers, the Jets, the Bears, the Texans, they're trying to figure out how to salvage their season and persevere after their latest setback. And so if we're honest, you and I today, there are many days where we feel like more like the Texans than we do the Bucs. The Bucs have been blowing everybody out. They're loving life. They got Tom Brady. They're laughing. They win. Their game's over by halftime. Yeah. But for many of us, we feel overwhelmed by life's difficulties, responsibilities, the things around us that seem so bleak, this never-ending pandemic. It's one thing after another that seems to be going wrong, or maybe we feel stuck or outmatched or limited or embarrassed or discouraged. These are common things that all of us have felt, are feeling, will feel. And so we ask ourselves, how can I keep going on like this when I'm so beat up and dominated by life's challenges? And so we ask ourselves, how am I going to salvage this season and persevere after the latest setback? And the good news today, we thankfully have an answer, because we can turn to God's word. And as followers of Jesus, we are reminded that we are not ultimately outmatched, because we have God's power and strength available to us. Sure, this life is going to beat us up and we're going to get dominated sometimes. However, as it says in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Psalm 145 tells us the Lord is close to all who call on him. Yes, to all who call on him in truth. He grants the desires of those who fear him. He hears their cries for help and rescues them. And so in sports, it's hard enough to lose, but when you get blown out and dominated, it's even harder to keep going. For those of us today who can relate to similar feelings, based on the latest developments in our lives and the discouraging defeats, maybe it's one after another. And so for us, we have to continue to persevere and endure as we trust that Jesus is still with us and that he's the one who will get us through when we rely on him and depend on him. Hebrews 10. So do not throw away this confident trust in the Lord. Remember the great reward it brings you. Patient endurance is what you need now so that you will continue to do God's will. Then you will receive all that he has promised.
Yep.
So I can go on and on, but I hope that we realize, okay, we can feel defeated and overwhelmed, but the answer is we don't give up. We continue to endure. We continue to persevere. And the only way we do that is through the power of the Holy Spirit, depending on God's strength and energy. And like we talked about a few weeks ago, the hope that we have in him, the peace that we have in him, that's what we cling to as followers of Jesus. And so trust me, I look around sometimes and I talk to a lot of people that are going through hard things. And some days I go, man, I just can't even bear this anymore. Like I can't bear another tough conversation. I can't, bear the weight of leading this ministry, leading my home, trying to take care of myself, trying to have friendships, trying to take care of my, extended family. There's a lot that we all of us have different things. So fill it in. But sometimes it feels like the scoreboard is a blowout, right? We're defeated. It's like, man, we got no answers. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what's going on. But the good news is we do have somewhere to turn, and we turn to Jesus. It's our only hope. It's our only answer, because anything else is going to let us down. Everything else is going to leave us in despair. But Jesus lifts us up. He carries our burdens, and he gets us through it. And we find ourselves in the middle of the difficulty at times. But there is light, and he is our light that gets us through. It guides us and directs us through it, and ultimately changes us and grows us as we go through those difficult seasons. So that's my encouragement for us today. You can unpack that. Luke, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think this is one of those topics where scripture is just so clear. Like the idea of just a blowout. One, we've already survived the biggest blowout in our lives, which is being born in sin and completely hopeless, born in depravity, cannot rescue ourselves from the death and judgment we deserve from a holy God. And yet, God, through his son, Jesus, redeemed us. So by faith in Christ, we get to escape death. We get to be made right with God. So if through God's power, we can escape that blowout and recover from that blowout, we can continue to persevere. Yeah, things happen all the time. Think of right now, mental health is on the forefront of so many conversations, which is important. We're realizing mental health is a serious thing, and that looks like a lot of things for a lot of different people. In struggling with mental health can really be a big blowout. Or if you just make a wrong decision, whether because of sin or whether because you just made a wrong decision, things can happen all the time. I think back in my own life, there's plenty of times where I've either made a wrong decision or been in sin or struggled with various things, or life just hits me really hard. And it's like, man, how am I going to recover? So first I can remember, okay, I have been made right with God. So I know that I can also recover from things because God has literally rescued me from death. He can certainly keep me. I mean, there's so many encouraging passages in Scripture. Hebrews 4 talks about we can approach God with confidence and ask him for mercy and grace. 2 Corinthians 9 is all about in my weakness, I am made strong. Because as we acknowledge how weak we are, God's power is made even more stronger, and we realize, okay, I have God's power in my life. I can rely on that more. Even the classic Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ and who strengthens me. Now, unfortunately, that's become like I can go hit 2 home runs because of Christ who strengthens me. I'm like, oh, a bunch of baloney. What are we doing here? But it's talking about I can follow Christ because God strengthens me. I can persevere through suffering. I can persevere through hardships. I can do the duties required of following Christ in this life only because of Christ who strengthens me. We can't do it on our own.
No.
So we can follow Christ because of God's power in our life, and we can recover from blowouts, from being just blown out by life or by our own sin because of God's power in our life. And when we start to realize that more by asking God to give us greater humility, to realize our weakness, to realize and to think back on God's faithfulness of helping us recover, primarily from recovering from the blowout of being born in sin, and then all the other ways God helps us recover time and time again in our own life, in Scripture. There's so much testimony to that, where if we really think about it and take time to remove ourselves from the busyness and the overwhelming things, there's so much room to be encouraged. Certainly easier said than done, but there is hope.
Amen. Amen. So that's the encouragement as we start a week. And for many of us, it feels overwhelming. But let me close with this. Today, as we acknowledge the things that are overwhelming us and leaving us feeling dominated or discouraged, let's bring them to the feet of Jesus and rest in his comfort and mercy as he replenishes and refreshes us to bounce back and keep going as we continue to do God's will. And like we were saying, with his strength and with his power. So you can unpack that. Appreciate you sharing that as well, Luke. That was awesome. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. If you're listening now, if you're listening live, you can share your comments. Also, what are you convinced of today? Let us know what you're convinced of in the world of sports. And as I started off the show, where is somewhere you mistakenly brought your young child and you thought, no, that'll be a good idea. And you quickly realized, nope, not a great idea. I brought Maddie to the car wash on Saturday. So I'd love to hear some more of those stories as they pop up. So let's get to I'm convinced. And I got some thoughts on the Panthers today, but let me expand it out a little bit as well. So I'm convinced.
I'm eager for this.
Through 7 weeks, I have made a decision on the young quarterbacks in the league, and I can now decide who is a franchise quarterback, who is only going to be an NFL starter, not quite a franchise quarterback, but they can still start in the league, and who is only going to be a reliable backup, which may mean at times they start, but they're only a reliable backup. Now, there are a couple guys who don't fall into those three categories because they need a new coach or a new team before I give the final call on those guys in particular, because Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, all guys needed another team. Now we're seeing with Wentz and the Colts, it's a different Wentz.
Yeah.
And even I would say Derek Carr. Forget all these think about John Gruden and all that. John Gruden helped Derek Carr get his career back and get him back on the right track.
Certainly.
So there was a regime change there, and now actually Carr's doing even better now that Gruden's leaving.
2-0.
2-0 without him. So now there's something to be said about him taking over and being the true leader of that locker room, which is interesting. So, but here we go. Here's who I think. Here's what I'm convinced. These quarterbacks will be reliable backups moving forward. Sam Darnold. He is no longer a starting quarterback. He is not a franchise quarterback. We have seen enough. As a Panthers fan, here's what did it for me yesterday. The safety. He threw the ball into the ground where there was no player near him. Nobody. It was a lineman who can't catch the ball. An ineligible lineman. Easy for me to say. And he got a safety. So Sam Darnold got a safety. At that point, I said, I'm out. He's not a franchise guy. The Panthers have to move forward without him. They got to figure out another plan. Now, he can be a starter. He can be a starter at times as a backup. I think he could still remain in the NFL. He showed what he's capable of early in the season. But to think that he's going to do it for a full season, we've seen it the last 4 weeks. It's not happening. And we'll talk about Christian McCaffrey and all that. But when you watch a player, you just kind of know. So I'm convinced of him. I'm also convinced Baker Mayfield is better off as a reliable backup.
Ooh.
I don't think he's a franchise guy. I really don't think he's that much of a starter either. I think he's a nice, fun guy to bring in off the bench, give you a boost, bring some energy. Probably it will be somewhere else than Cleveland. The Browns can win with Case Keenum. I'm all in on the Case Keenum bandwagon.
Wow.
I think they can go far into the playoffs with Case Keenum. The Vikings did it, and this team arguably even more talented than that Vikings team. And then let's see who else. Jalen Hurts, he's a backup. Tua, backup. Zach Wilson, backup. These guys are backups in the NFL. I'm not building my franchise around.
Are you moving on too quick from Zach Wilson? You gotta give him the Darnold treatment. Wait till he's on another team to confirm or deny.
I've seen enough. I'm out. Now, here are guys that I think will remain starters that will never become the franchise guy, meaning you have to have a lot around these guys in order to be successful. And so Mac Jones, I think he's good. I think he's a starter. But he's not Tom Brady. I don't think he's going to make up for deficiencies on other areas of the team. And so Mac Jones, starter. I've come around on Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is a starter.
Henry is so happy right now.
So what did it for me yesterday when he made the catch? Like, it just showed how talented he is. Like, this guy, I don't know if you guys saw this catch he made. It was a remarkable catch.
I mean, he's a freak athlete. He's a great athlete.
So I think you can use him. He's going to have a lot of talent around him. But even yesterday, I saw something. He was RB1, QB1, and wide receiver 1 for the Giants yesterday. They had 7 guys out. 7 starters out. And that's how well he played against my my sorry Panthers. But I've come around on Jones being a starter. All right. And then the franchise guys, we basically all agree on this. Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Kyler, Josh Allen, and now Joe Burrow. I'm all in on Joe Burrow. I was a little late to the party on him and Kyler and Josh Allen. I'll say on all 3 of those guys. But I'm in on all of them. And then the guys that need new teams, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, those would be my 2. So I'm not ready to write either one of them off yet. I will say this about Chicago. We were kind of wrong. Like, some guys like Mike Wilbon, they were right, where they were saying, no, don't put Fields in yet. Like, this is not the situation you want to put him in. And now because I was like, just put him in. I want to see him. Let's play. What are we going to do with Andy Dalton? It's kind of a lame duck quarterback.
Yeah.
But Fields is in over his head, and he's just not set up to succeed, I don't think. So it's kind of unfortunate. That's an unfortunate situation for him. So there you go. That's what I'm convinced of. Would love to hear your thoughts. Where do you come out on these quarterbacks? Where do you disagree? Luke, I'll let you have first crack at it.
Oh, well, you left Mr. Dakota Prescott off the list. And
he's a franchise guy. He's
franchise guy. Okay, glad we could get that off our chest.
Yeah. He's not. Is he young anymore? We're in on him. He got the big money.
Yeah.
He's in.
Oh man, that's fascinating. Baker's a tough one. I mean, I'm certainly out on him as a fantasy starter. Definitely as a fantasy football quarterback starter. I mean, I cut him. I'm riding the Kirk Cousins train. Kirk's been solid for me. Baker, maybe 13 points average. Ugh, tough. But
I think we saw with I think Keenum shows us. I think he, is a decent Denver defense.
Which, speaking of Keenum, in the year, but absolute roller coaster. I mean, didn't he get a huge deal after his Minnesota run? Was it with Denver?
So there's another category of quarterbacks, which basically these reliable backup type guys, and I think Baker falls into this ultimately. But it's the Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown, Case Keenum type of guys. I might be missing one more, but those 3 guys, they can win you games. They can even win you playoff games. But as soon as you give them big money or expect them to be the franchise guy or even your like clear-cut starter, they're just not going to do it. Like, they're not that, they don't have the talent to do it. But they have some of the intangibles and some talent to get some, temporary wins. And that's why I think Sam Darnold, Baker, they fall into that category.
Yeah. I will say, definitely all in on Burrow. I mean, come on. Yeah. And I think anyone who was doubting Burrow forgot about his rookie season. Unbelievable. Before he was hurt. Great rookie season.
Sorry. My doubts came from only 1 year at LSU. And
Fair.
sometimes, we see great quarterbacks in college. It just, doesn't translate. They're surrounded by so much talent.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, this guy's not really good. He just had a bunch of a bunch of great receivers. So
Yeah.
I was kind of buying that narrative a little bit. And not to mention how bad Cincinnati has been, especially in recent years. And I didn't like Zach Taylor, who was this coach, kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I didn't buy into him, but now I'm buying it all. Like I even texted my buddy Duncan, who's a Bengals fan. He's not even totally sold as a Bengals fan because of the years of negativity. But I'm in. I thought that win yesterday proved it.
I feel like it might be too early. So with a guy like Baker, like the Browns have a great roster. Like
really
they have
good
a
roster.
They both sides of the ball, weapons. Which is why I think it would be maybe too early to move on from Tua, because he's been banged up, and let's be honest, Miami, we got to make some
games last year. They won 10 games last year. Fitzpatrick was the guy.
Well, Fitzpatrick he's got some magic in him. I think it may be a little too early to move on from Tua. Awesome game. Also, he's feeding my tight end right now in fantasy.
He's got
Gesicki, so it's been great.
Well, no, Tua actually played pretty well yesterday. I mean, numbers wise.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure he's a winning quarterback in the NFL. Same with Hurts. Like they're both very talented and they show glimpses of it, but they're not getting their team over the hump.
I'm not sure about
soon, but I've made my decision on those two guys.
I'm not sure about Hurts' ceiling. So I guess would support your point. Like you want a great backup has a high floor, low ceiling guy. I think Hurts has a pretty high floor. He can do it. He's a dual threat. He's a smart football player. And obviously tremendous coaching in college. So I think he's long-term, probably a good backup. Now, just to throw it out there, we have to acknowledge the greatest backup of all time, Chase Daniel. We've talked about him before.
Legend.
Getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per pass.
Oh,
unbelievable.
He wins. Gosh,
100% he wins. Legend.
Doug Peterson's the one that backed up Brett Favre for a number of years. He won too because Favre was always healthy.
Yeah.
Never played. Peterson never played.
Gosh, this is tough.
It's tough. In some ways it's tough, but in other ways it's, man, you win. Year after year, you never play and you just keep cashing a check.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with the injuries. You don't have to wake up with a sore back like Aaron Rodgers. Poor guy didn't get to sleep in his own bed. You hear that? Aaron Rodgers is such a prima donna. He's the one guy that thinks I'm sure a bunch of people would love to sleep in their own bed. Don't we all? But he doesn't like they have to sleep in the hotel even for home games the night before. So he woke up with a sore back. I woke up with a sore neck today too, but I'm still here. I'm playing. I'm playing.
You're a trooper.
And I was in my home bed.
Yeah, you were. That's right.
Anyway, you're talking about Chase Daniel. Not sure why. I don't know why. I don't even know what team he's on these days. Where does he play? The Rams? Where is he?
Ooh, he was in Kansas City.
He's not there because Chad Henne's still in the league. We saw him.
Right. Unbelievable. Yeah, year 14 out of Michigan. Unreal.
That's who App beat when we beat Michigan. Chad Henne was the quarterback.
That's right.
And he's still in the NFL.
Oh,
I'm wearing my App shirt today. I can't wear my Panthers stuff right now. Got to wear my App gear. Big win over Coastal.
that was huge.
Not an upset. Not an upset.
Ooh, they stormed the field.
Take care of business.
They stormed the field though.
I stand by my
not an upset
field principle.
Been years since a ranked win. I think that may constitute as an upset.
No, they're in our division. We own the Coastal Carolina. Get out of here with that. At home. We own them at home, I should say. I think we've lost on the road to them.
Anyway, your quarterback takes, very fascinating. I would be hesitant to move on from Tua, and I would be curious. I feel like Zach Wilson would deserve similar treatment as a Fields, because it's been just a brutal experience for Justin Fields in his NFL career so far. Same with Wilson. I mean, it's tough. Anyway, and which is why we needed to see Darnold. Hey, maybe Darnold was never going to be that guy, but unfair to judge him solely on the New York Jets experience, because I don't know. I'd be willing to hear just quarterback names to just stick in Chicago or stick in on the Jets franchise, I mean, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he's going to make a difference. But I don't even know if a guy like Dak could go to the Jets and really make a huge impact. I don't know.
It's year one of a rebuild. So, they're totally starting over. So I'm jumping the gun on this, but I kind of felt like this was Zach Wilson coming out, and I haven't seen it. The size, yeah. So that's my take on that. So, all right, there you go. That's what I'm convinced of today. I do want to get to, because really the Panthers are kind of one of the big topics in the NFL, because they started off 3-0. Now I've lost 4 straight. Now I was a little, if you remember, I was a little hesitant with.
You were. I remember before the Dallas game, you were a little hesitant. The Dallas game was going to be the first real, okay, are we for real?
Yes. So even when we beat the Saints, it was like, oh, there I am with the we, but hey, all the Saints. And I was like, whoa. The assistant coaches weren't there. That was kind of a weird game. I don't know about that. But I've been bought into the defense, and I still think the foundation is there. But when you never get any momentum on offense, it kind of takes away from the defense as well. Yeah. But here's the big question to me that I'm wrestling with, because Christian McCaffrey is unbelievable, valuable, and when he's not on the field, the Panthers are clearly worse without him. Now, you can try to replicate some of the production here or there. Last year, Mike Davis filled in okay. Chuba Hubbard has done okay at times.
Yeah.
But you can't fully.
You're losing 2 players with McCaffrey. You're losing a receiver and a running back.
Yeah, because Hubbard's dropping passes. And so, but the question for me is CMC like too valuable and so valuable for the Panthers? And that, just shows like, man, the whole offense is built around him. They need him. Or is the reality that the Panthers are spending too much money on a running back, and so they have so much locked up and so much dependent on him that it's not really worth having him? Yeah. So it's like, wait, so he's so worth it. He's absolutely great, but is it really smart to have this much invested into a running back when running backs can get banged up?
Yeah.
And unless you're Derrick Henry, who's the only guy that like stays healthy. Well, even he gets banged up at times, but overall, he's been pretty healthy. Now he's throwing touchdowns. So that's what I don't know. So Panthers have to decide what direction they go from now. They move on from Darnold, which I think they should. Do you go trade for Deshaun Watson, which brings in a ton of baggage? Do you continue to go all in on Christian McCaffrey? But for how long can you do that, and how reliant, can you be on him?
Well, it's like, it almost seems illogical but it's true on. At some point as a running back, you can become so good you lose your value. He's so good that you have no other choice to build around him or you lose him. But building around a running back, the way the game is played, that doesn't work. And yes, you can say, well, Tennessee and Derrick Henry, but also Tannehill is far better than Darnold. So I don't know. It's hard. It's like you draft McCaffrey, you want him to silence all the haters. Oh, he's too small. He's not gonna be an NFL player. You want him to dominate. Now he's one of the best football players in the entire NFL. But at some point, you're like, no, don't be that good, because now we're gonna have to pay you so much money. It's gonna actually hurt our ability to put a more well-rounded team on the field. So it's the way the NFL's set up. It's just hard. It's like you almost are rooting for your running back to kind of taper off at some point and be like, yeah, be good, but not great, so that we don't have to pay you a ton of money, so that we can pay more important players like a left tackle, like, I don't know, a great defensive end. I don't know. So yeah, a really good corner. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, to me, like that's as the Panthers try to figure out what direction they're going. And, there's a lot of talk about, is Matt Rule really the guy? And of course, Sam Darnold. To me, it's like the Christian McCaffrey dilemma is really a big one. And that's the issue for me right now. And I still don't know if Matt Rule can coach in the NFL. He's a former college coach. It may not end up translating. I think we've got to give him, the rest of this year and let's see if he can keep this locker room together. I think that's going to be the big test. I think the expectations now have lowered a little bit. Now you're hoping for a 8-8 type season, 8 whatever it is now with 17 games. How annoying is that?
Yeah.
It's like an extra game. You can't really be 500, can you? How
No.
do you? Oh, that's terrible. Come on. We're rooting for mediocrity here. We're trying to settle for mediocrity. We can't even do it. It's not right. And then one other quick take on the weekend. So the Jets, Zach Wilson goes down. And all of a sudden, what's this guy's name? It's like Mike Wright. I mean, it sounds like an insurance agent. And we love our insurance agents. I got a bunch of guys who support the ministry. But, I mean, Mike Wright. Who's Mike? What is his name? Well, Mike Smith or something? I mean, he comes in. It's like the poor guy's never even played before. And he's got to go into the mess of the Jets. So, and then for the Panthers, they bring in P.J. Walker, who's like an XFL player, played at Temple, and he played for Matt Rule. But it's like this guy's not, he's not the answer either. If you have a young quarterback, you have to have a solid veteran. Like, I just don't understand. So we found out where Chase Daniel plays. He plays with the Chargers. He's the backup for Justin Herbert.
Of course he is.
That's a perfect situation. That's what you want. And then you got Joe Flacco up there with Jalen Hurts. All right, you get a solid vet for Hurts. I don't know. I don't believe Hurts will ultimately be the answer, but I like that setup. That's what is a good situation. Who's Trevor Lawrence's backup? Because they traded Gardner Minshew. Who'd they keep? I don't know.
Question.
I don't know. I can't remember now. But to me, that's such a key. So I saw that in the Jets and Panthers game. That was a big miss.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other takeaways from the NFL? That rainy game last night was hard to watch, but I'm encouraged the direction that the Colts are heading. They got a chance in the AFC. Them and the Titans, of course, will be competing for that division, AFC South.
That next Colts-Titans game is huge.
They come up this Sunday, which is very intriguing. I think the Colts win. I think they needed a little bit more.
It's a must-win, I think.
Yeah.
If you lose this game, no chance you win the division.
I'm not. I won't
With
go that
the
far.
way the Titans just beat the Bills and the Chiefs on a short week.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming in hot
after a Jets loss.
And they're still stuck with Julio Jones doing nothing. They got his hamstring just dragging along, and they're still winning games.
But your boy A.J. Brown finally had a big day.
Give it up for A.J.
Your fantasy team has been weeping for his lack of performance.
Waiting for him. So good for A.J. Brown.
So
all right, the other – go ahead.
I was going to say I have a college football point to bring up that I'm convinced of.
Yes, please.
And so – do we want to talk about the 9 overtime thing here? Because I have a take here.
Let me hear it.
So I'm pretty confidently convinced that the way the new overtime rules are set up are not as bad as what the majority of people are saying. So the 9 overtime game, Penn State, Illinois, once you reach the 3rd overtime, then it's just a 2-point conversion showdown to determine who wins. That was a correction from the A&M LSU 7 overtime game, which my Aggies came out on top. And everyone on Twitter and social media is watching this Penn State Illinois game saying, "Oh, these new overtime rules, trash. Are you kidding me? Oh, watching this, the obvious answer is we need to change the rules." Are we sure about that? I think it's a bunch of baloney. So the point of overtime is determine a winner. So the fact that I have numerous ways I want to go with this. Let me first just destroy the NFL real quick. Why on earth the NFL has overtime and still you can have a tie is unbelievably illogical in my opinion. The whole point of overtime is to determine a winner. If you can end in a tie, don't have overtime. Soccer and regular season play, game's up. You can have a tie, but there's no overtime. So the NFL, you can still tie after overtime, makes no sense to me. The point of overtime, determine a winner. College football, you have less normal overtime and more 2-point conversions, so you're having less plays, less injuries, less hits in theory, which is great. We agree there needs to be some measures of safety added to the sport of football to roll back some of the injuries. But you still get 2 normal overtimes and then it's a shootout to determine the winner. I don't understand what the problem is. Some people are saying, oh, we'll go back to the old rules. Some people are saying you need to have more overtimes before the 2-point conversion shootout. I don't think so. You get 2 overtimes, and then you do the 2-point conversion to determine the winner. It's like penalties in soccer. Or, I don't know. It still gets the job done. So I don't understand the overreaction of we need to change the rules again because you still determine a winner. So I don't understand it.
As long as there's not a tie, and I'm for less field goals and less extra points.
You are.
So I like guys. Yeah, you have to go for it. Yeah, you got to score touchdowns to win. So that's the emphasis that I want, no matter what. But yeah, poor Penn State. Apparently they want James Franklin out. My uncle up in PA. He's like, yeah, I'm listening to sports radio, and we want Eagles head coach fired and Penn State head coach fired. It's tough up there.
Everyone wants everyone to be fired.
I hate to say it because I like Nick Sirianni, and he's from my mom's hometown, so I'm rooting for him. I don't think he's cut out for Philly. I just don't. I don't think it's going to work out. So him and Jalen Hurts, it just doesn't seem like that duo is the answer in Philly. And now they got to watch Frank Reich and Carson Wentz. Let's go. They're turning it around. They're turning Indy around. Good for Wentz, man. He's got his kind of pizzazz back. He still makes silly plays though. He still throws the ball like in weird ways that yesterday he could have had multiple turnovers, but he didn't because it was rainy and it was hard for anybody to catch. Yeah. So it was just a wild game. All right. So the other big thing, the NBA has started up. We don't have time today to get into the full NBA discussion, but I will say I am excited about this season because both the East and the West have multiple teams that are competitive. I think the gap isn't as big as people thought. Yesterday, the Hornets beat the Nets. So the Hornets are 3-0. The Nets are kind of struggling out of the gate. They got the whole Kyrie dark cloud hanging over them. The Lakers, I think they won yesterday against Grizzlies, but got off to a little bit of a slow start for them. Phoenix, I still like. They're going to be back in the mix, but they're not dominant. I love the Warriors back with Curry leading the way, and they're a fun team again. They get Clay coming back, so they're going to be tough. Younger teams or kind of retooled teams like the Bulls are going to be intriguing. When does Zion come back with the Pelicans? How good is Brandon Ingram? New coaches in New Orleans and Boston, I think, make it interesting. So a lot there. It's football season, so I don't fully get into the NBA at this point. But, man, October's awesome. With the World Series starting tomorrow.
Oh, NBA October's so good. I typically say that March and April. I'm curious what all our listeners think. Your favorite sports month? Like the March-April overlap for me with March Madness and the Masters is just so incredible. But October has its charm. You're in the middle of football, basketball starts, hockey's getting going, World Series. You got a bunch of great soccer in the Premier League. Oh, it's glorious. It's glorious.
My buddy was at a rugby. I think he got rugby going on.
No way.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I'll tease out. I'm sure we'll get into more NBA in weeks to come and the NBA top 75 list. But think of this question to yourself this next week. If you're listening, I won't give my answer or my opinion, but the format of the question will probably help you clue in. But why is Anthony Davis on the list and not Dwight Howard? Think of that to yourself. Why? How on earth could Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard be on the top 75 list and not Dwight Howard? Think of that question this week. Just think about it.
Well, we're going to get into the 75th right now because we're going to do Tap Drill with Henry Bieniemy here on Unpacking It. Henry, your Giants beat my Panthers. How you doing? Great work behind the scenes. How you feeling today?
What's going on, boys? I'm glad you finally came around to Daniel Jones. This is what I've been talking about. The problem with the Giants is not Daniel Jones. The problem is the New York Giants themselves. When your quarterback has to be, as you stated, Bryce, QB1, RB1, and wide receiver 1, yeah, that's kind of a problem. Yep. When he has to be literally the entire offense, I thought they were going to put him in there to punt. And I thought he was going to be the punter. I thought he was going to be the place kicker. They've got their starting wide receiver out. They're starting 3 wide receivers out. They're starting running back out. The offensive line is offensive. And I'm hoping and praying that Dave Gettleman gets fired. I don't like to call for anybody's job, but he said that he was going to fix the offensive line, and the offensive line has been offensive since the whole time he's been with the Giants.
He beat his former team though. Him and Graham Gano beat the Panthers. So good
but
for him.
I'm happy they got the win. So at least we won't be at the top of the draft this year. Maybe we'll stay in the top 10, but we'll see.
That's right. Yeah, got to build up the line. That's going to be key for you guys.
All right, let's hit it up with Tap Drill, and we're gonna stay with the 75th anniversary list, but we're gonna break it down into one particular group of players, and you guys touched on it a little bit. The new NBA players that came on the list. The 11 active players that have been added were Giannis Antetokounmpo, Carmelo Anthony, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, the aforementioned, Kevin Durant, James Harden, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook. My question to you boys is that if there's one guy that you're taking off, and I'll start with Luke because he mentioned Dwight Howard, if you're putting Dwight Howard in, who are you taking out?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I'll preface my answer with including current players is interesting. I feel like it may make more sense to include only retired players because you have a lot of career left. So include the top 100 list. Wait for these current players to retire. But I think of the Lakers, you can make an easy argument that Dwight Howard is more deserving to be on that list than his teammate Anthony Davis. One, Dwight Howard was for 8 to 10 years maybe arguably the best two-way big man in the NBA.
Took his Magic to the finals.
Yeah,
he was clearly the best.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So so don't hear me saying Anthony Davis is bad. Anthony Davis is going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about that. One of the, I think so.
To me, let's stay healthy. I like it. Trust me, I'm a Lakers fan. Fair. I was thrilled to see him go to the Lakers, but
yes,
let's stay healthy.
Okay, I can hear that. But the whole current players, the whole list is arbitrary. But how do you have Damian Lillard and not Kyrie Irving? You can make an argument that Kyrie should be on more than Dame. Dwight Howard is clearly deserving of being on the list with what he has done. Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard is clearly deserving of being on the list. And I think maybe he's just been hurt by the past few years of a drop-off. But for what he was for 10 years on both sides of the floor, I don't know how you keep a player like him off. Or a guy like Klay Thompson, one of the better shooters in NBA history, a key part to that Warriors dynasty. I don't know, because I don't know. They're just with the current players, it's hard to choose. You're just almost blindly picking at this point with a Damian Lillard over a Kyrie, or I don't know. It just seems egregious to leave Dwight Howard off and these newer current players.
All right, so there's one name that absolutely has to be on this list, and that's Vince Carter. And I'm a Duke fan. Are you kidding me? Vince Carter, this guy had a long career. And toward the end of his career, he became a three-point shooter and was the solid veteran guy. But early in his career, he was lights out. He was carrying the Raptors.
He put Toronto on the map.
The dunk contest is part of being an NBA player. He won that. And then not to mention just his dunks in games. As an NBA player, I mean, his scoring was unbelievable. He's one of the best players we've seen play, without a doubt. Now, I'm not a big Tracy McGrady guy, so I'm not going to make the case for him. Manu Ginobili, I think it's fair to put him in as one of the best, foreign players to come over and play, and the championships that he won with the Spurs. But I guess if you put him, you probably got to put Tony Parker on there as well. I don't think Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, they don't need to be on it. Draymond Green, I don't think so. I'd put Klay on there. Now, the names that jumped out to me that actually made the list that surprised me, I've never heard of a guy named Paul Arizon. I've been watching the NBA for 25 years. I've never heard of his name. So how have I never heard of his name? And he's one of the 75 best player, or 76. They put together a list and had 76 players.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to narrow it down.
There's just some questions because certainly I can't make an argument for guys I didn't watch. Like there's a lot of older guys that's fine. That's fine. But every player from the top 50 list being on this list is a little suspicious. You can't include all 50 of the top 50 list from 25 years ago. Especially if you're including these current players, some of those other guys have to be bumped off. It's true. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's to just blanketly say, all right, you guys are all in, you're grandfathered in. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the best approach to this list. But I will say the names that jumped out on the list that I also just was like, Damian Lillard, Robert Parrish. So he played for the Hornets, but had a really long career. Probably one of the I think he played maybe the most games ever. But he's almost like Dwight Howard, where I think he was better early on, and then he was kind of a journeyman later on. He even played for the Bulls. So my thought of him isn't as strong. But again, to your point, if you didn't watch him when he was at his best, it's not necessarily fair. And then Paul Pierce. I'd rather have Vince Carter than Paul Pierce, but maybe that's a bias. Same with James Harden. I'm not a big James Harden guy. So James Harden, no D.
All right, boys.
Wow. Let's play Thompson on the list.
Boys, one name that I didn't hear, and I'm kind of shocked at the both of you that you didn't hear it. Even one name even more prominent than Dwight Howard, and that would be Dikembe Mutombo.
Ooh.
Dikembe Mutombo. If there were not any Dikembe Mutombo, he's again part of the great line of Georgetown centers: Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo. If it weren't for Dikembe Mutombo, there would be no Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I'm fine with Dikembe making it.
And remember, Dikembe Mutombo was on the team that that Nuggets team that was the first 8 seed to beat a 1 seed. And how about that iconic picture of Dikembe Mutombo holding the basketball as they beat the number 1 seeded Supersonics?
Everybody loves Dikembe. I'm not sure that one play gets him in or that one picture gets him in, but no, I like Dikembe. He's got the best taunting. He probably wouldn't be allowed to. Well, he wasn't really allowed to do it at the end.
Now he's a commercial icon. But you don't watch commercials with YouTube TV, Bryce. So I don't know.
That's right. I skipped the commercials, but.
All right, boys, let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Now, one of the NFL games you guys didn't talk about, and for obvious reasons, was the Tampa Bay Bucks versus the Chicago Bears. And I'm not too sure, Bryce, if you mentioned Justin Fields or not, but there was a reason why Justin Fields shouldn't have gone on when he did. But we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on Tom Brady becoming the only NFL quarterback to throw 600 touchdowns. Now, why is that significant? Because the guy he threw it to, which happens to be wide receiver Mike Evans, had a brain fart and decided to give it to the fan. So now the fans got it. He's got the 600th touchdown. The Tampa Bay staff goes off to him and say, we need the ball back. What can we give you?
I think didn't Brady go over to him? Or was it somebody on the staff?
It was somebody on the staff. I think Brady talked about it in the press conference. But here's what the guy got. The guy, according to numerous reports, the guy got another ball. I don't know if it was signed or not. They gave him $1,000 to the team's store and some other stuff. Guys, I think he got hosed. As a matter of fact, I believe, if I remember correctly, there's a firm by the name of Golden Auctions who says that 600 touchdown football is worth at a minimum of $500,000.
This gave away $500,000. Here, Tom Brady, you have enough, but let me give it back to you. To you.
If you guys have the ball, what are you asking for? I'm pretty sure you're asking for more than $1,000 in a jersey.
So I think we have to look at this big picture, because if I'm the guy, I'm kicking myself for letting that go and thinking, man, I had $500,000. But any foot in the game of football, you always keep those commemorative milestone footballs. That's the standard. Now, to me in baseball, it's a little bit different because you actually caught that ball and it went out. If it's a home run ball, I think you have a little bit more ownership of that ball, so to speak. But in football, that football wasn't naturally, like Evans didn't have the right to get rid of it. So I'm okay with them demanding it back. Brady going, whoa, that's my ball. I won that. Or I accomplished 600 touchdowns. So I side with, hey, buddy, you got to give it back. Now, if I'm Mike Evans, he's got to chip in and throw this guy a bone. Because that was his mistake. It wasn't Brady's mistake. Yeah. So now people are calling for Brady to give the guy something. They're calling the Bucs to give him something. Mike Evans, this one's on you. You got to figure it out. So
yeah, definitely. I agree. Definitely on Mike Evans. And the guy, there's no way he could, the public shame he would get if he kept the ball.
Yeah,
be overwhelming.
No, I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah, he's got to give it back. But yeah, it falls on Mike Evans for sure.
Yeah.
He started it. He's got to finish it.
That's Imagine right. being the guy who says, "No, I'm going to hold on to the ball." I think he'd be run out of Tampa Stadium. Like he's not leaving with that football. No way in the world.
But the cool, from a story standpoint, though, like if I keep stuff because I have a story. Like you love commemorative stuff because there's a story behind it. So even if he gets a football signed by Tom Brady and says, "Hey, I got this football because I caught his 600th and I gave it back to him," you're still a legend. It's awesome. So yeah, you don't get the $500,000, but it really was never yours to have to begin with. That's I think you can rest at night knowing that.
All right, boys. Speaking of well-known names, the Washington football team decided to cut their kicker for a kicker named Chris Blewett. Now, I don't know if you have a name like Chris Blewett, you better have some internal fortitude when you're going up to kick game-winning field goals, which got me thinking, what kind of other names can we come up with that are funny sports names? I got a list for you, but I think if I'm right, if I know Bryce as well as I do, I think you got a name for us before I get into my list.
Oh, man, this is hilarious. I was watching the Red Zone yesterday when Blewett missed, and Scott Hansen, he didn't even have to say it on the Red Zone. He's like, we're all thinking it. It's hilarious. And we're all, the guy, he missed the kick and he blew it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I love sports. The stuff you can't, Hollywood can't write these scripts.
Do you change your last name, though?
You have to.
Like growing up, I feel like it's a no-brainer. You have to change your last name.
You blew it.
Oh, like you are already knowing what the newspaper headline is going to be for any mistake you will ever make.
I love it.
That's name-changing worthy right there.
So growing up, I remember there was a guy in the NBA named Frank Brickowski.
No.
Frank Brickowski. I used to collect his cards just because it was so funny. I mean, I got such a kick out of the guy. I heard him playing basketball. His name's Brickowski.
Oh.
I love it. So
there's
that's
a guy
on
the Clippers. Clippers player, first-year player, Jay Scrubb.
That's exactly where I was going.
Scrubb.
That's exactly.
I mean, hey, 8 points a game right now. Like, definitely not a scrub. But imagine the ruthlessness of growing up in middle school and high school. I mean, anytime you fall from perfection, you're a scrub. Absolute scrub. That's just brutal. So brutal.
Did you find some other fun names, Henry?
Yeah, I got a couple of more. I got some more names for you here, and this is for Luke here. Chip Beck.
Ooh.
Yes, he's a golfer.
That's right. Nice. Chip Beck, baby.
Chip Beck.
He may have been a Ryder Cupper. I can't remember.
Could have been a Ryder Cupper. Going into the college ranks, we have Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett. Hopefully he doesn't throw too many of those. Baseball, we actually have a pitcher from the Pirates named Bob Walk. And he was a pitcher.
It's not ideal.
We got a guy. We have one guy way back in 1953. He played one game at quarterback for the Chicago Bears. His name was Willie Thrower.
Yikes!
That's a good one. I like that.
And of course, if you're a Yankee fan, and most of the East Coast are, we had players like named Homer Bush.
Okay, that's a good one. That's positive. You want to be Homer? You gotta love that.
Homer Bailey. So you gotta love the funny names in sports. All right, guys. One more tap for you. It's Halloween. Now, I'm really not a Halloween guy for various reasons, but it's funny to see when you go through your neighborhood, how people get into Halloween with the ornaments on the lawn. First, are you a lawn ornament guy? And secondly, do you know the etiquette of trick or treating on Halloween?
Oof.
Well, let me just say this. So we go on walks in our neighborhood very often. We got a little baby, so we walk her in the stroller, and Maddie runs around as well. And so, I love walking around, waving to the neighbors, seeing everybody. But once it's Halloween season, it starts to get scary. These people have put up ridiculous stuff in the lawn. Yesterday, there was a baby, like a baby doll, hanging from a tree.
What are we doing?
It's sick behavior. This is sick behavior. I'm telling you, this is not right. Like, I mean, there are multiple houses in my neighborhood with like grave sites, like not just one RIP grave,
An entire cemetery.
whole cemetery. There you go, a cemetery. Dude, that's weird.
Can
That's
you
weird.
imagine? I mean, you're talking about at the beginning of the show, the terror of bringing your daughter to the car wash. Imagine, hey, let's go walk by our neighbor's cemetery and baby hanging from a tree.
Yeah, she's like, this scary stuff. Hey, straight ahead. Just look at the pool. Look at the pool. I mean, this is what are we trying to accomplish here? There's another house that has like a talking weird ghost type of thing. I don't even know what you call this freaky stuff. It's evil, weird. And so I have to tell Maddie, I'm like, oh, look at the funny guy over there. It's unacceptable. So, a lot of stuff's getting canceled in life and all that. When are we going to cancel the Halloween decorations? That's what I'm for.
The neighbor, the next door neighbor with the big 50-foot spider coming down the web.
What's with the spider? We got those spider webs. I don't like spiders ever. I'm fighting them out of my basement. So what are we're purposely putting spiders on our yard? Come on.
There's never a stopping point. Like, if you really have neighbors or friends that go, like, really take Halloween decorations seriously, like, there is no stopping point. Like, the fake people coming out of the ground, it's unbelievable. Or you go trick-or-treating, and you have, like, you think is a statue, and then they just scare the crap out of you.
Oh, yeah.
What are we doing
that's
here?
Scary stuff. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm all for pumpkins, and that's fine. You can decorate for the fall. But to go with like the extreme, to me, the graveyard. Once you start doing that, we're celebrating that. It's a weird thing. What are we doing? I can't wrap my mind around it.
Now, boys, the etiquette for Halloween is simply this. Now, if my house, we have a porch light. We have a light on the porch, and when the kids go up and down the street, they always look at the porch light. If the porch light is off, that means don't go to that house. If the porch light is on, or if there's a bucket outside in front of the house, that means you're free to take the candy, so long as you don't take the bucket. But then again, I lived in New York, so.
No, that seems to be standard. That's the right way to do it. We had the big debate in our neighborhood. Do you go Saturday or Sunday? Because this year's Halloween's on Sunday, but now it's right there in the NFL. So I'm not thrilled about that.
And then you go Saturday.
Games. You miss college games.
So
you're
doing a sprint of trick or treating during halftime of the Sunday night game.
That's right. The 4:00 games. No, the 4:00 games.
Okay.
Yeah. Halftime during the 4:00 games. So we'll talk about it next Monday. But that's
Tap Drill.
Henry. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Luke, great job. We're a little late, but fun show today. We missed last week, so glad to be back. Had a lot to talk about, and man, my Carolina Panthers, we'll see how they respond. Congrats to your Giants. I thought for sure this was a lock, Henry. I thought for sure. So your Cowboys had a bye, Luke, so we'll see how they bounce back following the bye next week. But we'll talk about all of that next Monday. Have a wonderful rest of your week. If you haven't signed up for the Unpack This devotional, you can do so at unpackingit.com. If you want to be a Fairway friend, we encourage you to support this show, unpackingit.com/donate. But that's it for today. I'm Bryce. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy Monday Night Football. The boys are back. The Manning brothers. Enjoy. Talk to you next week.